Hello, hello, hello. Happy Friday. We made it. Woo, baby. This has been a week. Has it been a week for you? Actually, it's been a year. like, it has been a week. Listen, happy Friday. Happy Friday. Come on in. Come on in. As you come in, do a quick tech check. Let me know if you can see and hear me okay, because I don't want you to miss any of this good, because I am going to be talking about the 5 skills that women are sitting on right now that could make money this month. This month, we are still at the beginning of the month. You can make money off of these skills starting this month. If you clicked on this live today, I need you to stay with me on this one, because this conversation might shift something for you. And it's not in a motivational poster kind of way, right? It's in I'm about to see myself differently kind of way. And I want you to have your notebook out, because we're not doing surface level today. I promise you're going to want to take some notes on this, specifically because I'm giving you 5 skills that you might be sitting on that could make money this month. So let me start by telling you something that happened to me personally a few years back. And I think about this all the time. Like, I think about this as I picture and really map out what it is that I want for her income edit. This particular situation is what set the frame for me to get into this industry. So I was in a corporate role a few years ago, and I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. I was checking the boxes. I had this colleague. She was a brilliant woman. She was incredibly talented. And she would constantly come to my desk, not for work stuff, but for words. She'd slide into my office, stand in my office door with a draft of something, and she would say, "Can you just look at this real quick?" And I would. I'm being a good coworker. You know how it is when you're in the office. This is before COVID, so we were all in the office back then. And I would fix the thing that she asked me to fix, and she would say, "Dang, how did you do that so fast?" I always said the same thing when she said that. I don't know. That's just how it is. It just sounds right to me. And that was it. And I didn't think any more of that. But what I didn't realize at the time was that I was giving away a skill for free that people would pay thousands of dollars for. I was doing it casually, and I was doing it in 10 minutes on my lunch break without even thinking about it twice, right? And I was doing it because it came easy for me, and I assumed that it wasn't worth much. And that assumption, it cost me years of income that I could have been building. But here's the part that I really want you to hear. It wasn't just communication. I was doing the same thing with a dozen other things that I didn't recognize as skills. Like, I was organizing everyone's systems because I couldn't stand chaos in some aspects of my life. I cannot stand chaos. And it was easier for me to just fix it than to watch it just be broken or to rely on somebody else to do it. I was the person that people called when they needed to figure out how to have a difficult conversation, or when they were going through a difficult transition. I was the one who could walk into an event space and immediately see what needed to change to make it feel right. I was doing all of this. Like, literally, the amount of people in my personal life who have told me that I need to be a life coach is crazy. It's crazy. Like, it almost makes me question, maybe I need to move from helping female entrepreneurs build online businesses and into the life coaching space, because people come to me for these problems. I'm doing all of this, right? I'm doing it automatically, and I'm doing it for free. And it's not because I'm naive, but it's because at the time, I didn't have a framework for seeing these specific things as anything other than my personality traits or things that I'm good at, or, the gifts that God has given me. But that slowly changed for me. And then it changed all at once. And the moment it changed was when I stopped asking, what am I passionate about? And I started asking myself, what do people already pay for that I'm already doing for free? And I told you this story because I think it's most women's story in some shape, fashion, or form. Not the specific skill necessarily, but the pattern of that story. So the thing that comes most naturally to you is often the thing that you most undervalue. And that disconnect between how easy something feels to you and how much someone else would be willing to pay to have that problem solved, that is exactly where income lives for a lot of women. There are truly women who are sitting on income right now and don't even know it. And it's not because they're not smart enough or because they need another certification or because they haven't found their passion yet. It's because nobody ever taught them to look at what they already know through the lens of income. And that is my mission, not just for today, because I'm here to stay. All right. Listen, the education didn't teach you how to do it. And most workplaces, they don't teach you how to do it. And the personal finance world is so focused on what you do with your money after you earn it that it almost every single time it skips the question of how do you expand where the money actually comes from in the first place, right? And that's what I want to talk about in this episode. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Thanks so much for joining. Welcome back to another episode of Nick at Noon. My name is Nick Scott. I'm the founder and CEO of Her Income Edit. We are an online education platform where we help professional women turn their existing skills into coaching income, digital products, and online businesses so they can build multiple streams of income beyond a single paycheck. So, if you are skilled at what you do, underpaid for how much value you bring, and you're starting to wonder whether your skills could become something bigger for you, for your family, for your future, for your legacy, you are exactly in the right place. If you haven't already, go get your notebook and your pen. Text the link to this video to your biz bestie or to a woman who needs to hear this conversation. Before we get into it, I want you to think about this. What is the skill that people come to you for without even asking you if you have the time? Not what you're paid to do at your job or what's on your resume. What do people just assume that you're going to help them with? Because somewhere along the way, you became the one, the go to person for that thing, for the people in your life. Because that answer, the answer to that question, it is going to mean something different by the time we're done with this conversation here today. Okay. Now let's get into these 5 skills. What is the number one skill? Anyone care to guess? Drop it in the comments. What are your guesses for the number one skill that you could be making money on right now, today, this month, could be generating income for you? What is that skill? Organization. The very first skill women are sitting on that can make money this month is organization. And I know some of you are already thinking, Nick, organizing is not a business, but it is. And depending upon how you position it, it is actually multiple businesses. And here's what I think is really happening underneath the surface. Women underestimate organizational labor because we've been socially conditioned to perform it for free our entire lives. We've been conditioned, we've been trained to do that. And I want you to really think about that for a second because it's more significant than it sounds. We organize households, schedules, events, family calendars, group trips, classrooms, church functions, birthday parties, sorority events, business systems, inboxes, files, and logistics. You name it, okay? You name it. We organize all the things, and somewhere along the way, we collectively decided that in all of that organizing, we're just helping. That's not just helping. That is operational management. That is the kind of work companies pay project managers and executive assistants and operations consultants thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to do. So what happens when a woman who organizes everything, she walks into the job market or into the entrepreneurial space, what happens to her? She does all the organizing for free all over again, because that is the pattern that she's learned. Because the world has benefited from you doing it for free, and nobody has ever said to you, girl, wait a minute, hold up. That is actually a skill that has market value. So let me just paint a picture real quick of who your potential client is, because I really want to make this feel real for you. So there's a business owner right now, and it's probably a coach or a consultant or a service provider of some kind, right? And this person is talented at what they do, but they're completely overwhelmed by everything is that's happening around doing the work, around the work. So their inbox has 4,000 unread emails. Listen, 4,000 unread emails. I'm talking to somebody. Their Google Drive has folders inside of folders that nobody can even navigate. They can't even find it. Their client onboarding system has 3 different emails. It has a spreadsheet that they made in 2021, and it all of this is held up by a hope and a prayer. Their content calendar is sticky notes all over their all over their office. Their scheduling process involves 5 back and forth emails to set up one 30-minute phone call. Their business feels chaotic, and it isn't because they're failing, but because they never built systems around their business, and they're too deep in the weeds of their work to even stop to build the systems now. So that person, if you're the organizer, that person needs you, because that person will pay for the relief. That coach, that consultant, that service provider will gladly pay a premium for relief. The services that come out of an organizational skill set, they cover a wide range. I'm going to give you some examples of what your business could be. It could be a digital organization and file structure setup. It could be a virtual assistant support. It can be event coordination, calendar management, client onboarding building, CRM organization, travel itinerary planning, inbox management, project management support. Listen, the list is long of what you can do with this particular skill. But the point is this: some of y'all with this skill can post an offer today and have clients by the end of the week, because the demand is constant and the supply of people who are both organized and willing to offer this as a service, it is so much smaller than you think. But here is what stops when women, this is what stops women from starting almost every single time. And it is the belief that if something is easy for you, that it can't be valuable. And I am here to tell you that that is one of the most expensive mindset traps that women fall into. And I want to be really direct about this. Easy for you doesn't mean easy for everybody else. Your natural skill is somebody else's stress point, I promise you. People struggle with structure. A whole lot of people struggle with structure. Some people have never been able to follow through on a system that they built. They say they're going to get organized and they're going to get it together, but they never follow through with it. Some people have that make the kind of order that you can create in 10 minutes feel completely out of reach for them. Your ability to create order out of chaos has real market value, precisely because it's not universal. Everybody can't do it. Everybody can't do what you do. And here's the other part of this. If you've spent your career being the organized one, the one everybody relies on to keep things in order, the one who's already done the work before anyone else noticed that the work even needed to be done, you've likely been subsidizing other people's peace of mind your entire life. And it's time to stop donating that part of your skill set and start packaging it, because you are not getting a tax deduction by donating that. And if I were building this business today, I would start with one offer. I would offer a 2-hour digital organization intensive for overwhelmed business owners. That is exactly where I would start. I would show up online sharing before and after transformations. I would show quick system fixes. I would give advice about content that makes the problem visible for so people could recognize what the problem is in that I would be creating. Because again, people pay for relief, they don't pay for complexity. And an organized woman who's skilled in this area, she can provide that relief. So the second skill that you're sitting on that can generate money this month is communication. And this one runs deep because it shows up in so many forms that women often don't recognize it as a single coherent skill. Some of you know how to communicate so effectively that you de escalate situations before they even become situations. You write an email people actually respond to, like, you know how to get people's attention. You know how to explain a complicated thing, and the person looks at you like you've just lifted a weight off of their chest. Does that sound like you? You know how to say the hard thing in a way that keeps the relationship intact. You can read a room and adjust your words in real time to meet people where they are. And that is not a soft skill. That is a high value professional skill, and the market for that is gigantic because most businesses are struggling with communication in ways that they can't even comprehend it. Like they don't even see it because they're struggling with it in their customer emails, because their customer emails sound robotic and they sound cold and they sound disconnecting. Companies are struggling with this on social media where their captions feel like press releases. Companies are struggling with this in their sales conversations where they can feel the interest in the room, but they can't close it. They're struggling with it in their internal culture where people are completely disengaged because nobody feels heard. And women who have spent their careers being the person who just knows what to say, they're sitting on a skill set that speaks directly to every single one of those problems that I just listed. Now, I want you to think about the informal communication labor that you're doing already. You're already doing it. So, are you the person that your friends text when they need something, when they need to write something important or they need to say something important? Do your coworkers ask you to look over their emails before they send them? Have you ever rewritten someone's LinkedIn bio or helped someone prep talking points for a difficult conversation? Do people say things to you like, you always know how to say it? Or, can you help me word this in a different way? Because if they do, that is not random, that's a signal. And here's something I want you to think about in this moment, right, that we're in right now today. The rise of artificial intelligence is making authentic communication more valuable, not less. The key and operative word here being authentic, because now everyone has access to something that can produce a technically correct, you know, document or email in seconds, right? The differentiator is no longer correctness because AI is doing that. They're doing it, correct, quote unquote. Now, the differentiator is feeling. It's whether or not the words on the paper or the words on the social media caption or the words that you're speaking in a live video, do those words resonate? Can you write in a way that makes someone feel seen? Can you take a complicated idea and make it feel simple without losing the substance of that idea? Can you write a sales email that doesn't feel like a sales email? And those things require emotional intelligence and an understanding of human psychology that AI can maybe approximate, but it certainly cannot replicate that. The women who have this skill and they know how to strategically apply it in a very that y'all are in a very good position right now. because communication based income streams, they're also vast. They're just as vast as the organizational streams that I just mentioned. And if you're joining live and you missed the very first skill that women are sitting on that they can generate income from this month, you can catch the replay of this live stream on my YouTube channel. But the communication based income streams are just as vast as the organizational income streams. So, some examples are caption writing and social media copy, ghost writing, email marketing management, brand messaging development, community management, LinkedIn profile optimization, sales page editing, script writing, podcast outreach and pitch writing, customer response management, and on and on and on and on and on and on. Because listen, the positioning you choose matters more than the service itself. The positioning you choose matters more than the service itself. So I just listed off a bunch of services, right? But how you position it, that's what matters. So something like, I help busy entrepreneurs write captions that sound like them, that is going to attract buyers in a way that I offer communication services never will. You see the difference in those two? The positioning matters more than the service. Because specificity, it signals that you understand the problem, and understanding the problem is what builds trust before anyone has even paid you $1. Are y'all ready for skill number 3? Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. So I just covered the first 2 skills that women are sitting on that can generate income for them this month. And if you missed them, I invite you to catch the replay of this live stream on my YouTube. Number 3, the third skill is something that you might not even think is a skill. You probably haven't even thought about this, and that's aesthetic taste. And again, this one might be the one that surprises you the most, because women with strong visual instincts have been told their whole lives that taste is not a skill. They've been told that taste is a preference. Taste is a preference. They've been told that it's a personality trait, that it's something that you either have or you don't, but it's not something that you can build a career on, right? And that's completely wrong. And the market proves it every single day. Because what aesthetic taste represents is an understanding of how visual presentation shapes the way people feel about something, and how those feelings translate directly into decisions, including buying decisions. So think about the last time you looked at a brand online and immediately felt something. Maybe that brand felt premium and trustworthy. Maybe that brand felt dated and a little bit messy and chaotic. Maybe it felt warm and fuzzy and inviting. Here's the thing about it. You formed that impression before you read a single word, before you knew the price, before you had any information beyond what you could see, right? And that response was shaped by someone's aesthetic decisions. And the brands that get this right are paying top dollar for that skill set. Now, think about how many businesses get this wrong. Their branding looks confused, like 3 different designers worked on it in 3 different years with no communication between them, because the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. Think about the brands where the businesses where their content, it looks inconsistent. Their photos feel low effort. Their events don't match the experience that they're trying to create. The packaging looks like it belongs to an entirely different brand. So in a world where someone decides in less than a second whether or not to keep scrolling or to click, visual presentation is not just decorative, it is strategic. And the women who have this skill, they're doing things naturally that other people can't articulate how to do. You literally walk into a room and you immediately know what's off. You open up a website and you immediately know what's off. You look at a brand social media and you can call out exactly why that social media page isn't converting, even without consciously analyzing it, because you can just feel it. You can see it. You just know it. You can put together a mood board and people say, yes, girl, that is exactly the vibe that I couldn't really describe or articulate. You know the difference between color combination that signals premium and one that signals discount. You know how to make something feel intentional instead of assembled. Intentional instead of assembled. And that is not just liking pretty things, it is visual intelligence, and it's a legitimate business skill. And I want to push back on the idea that you need a formal design background to monetize this. Because some of the most successful people in aesthetic based businesses, they built those businesses around curation. They built those businesses around knowing how to select, arrange, and present things in a way that creates a feeling. And that is not design school. That is a developed eye and the confidence to trust that eye. So, what are some of the businesses that you can start from this particular skill? Content styling, Canva template creation, event styling, photo shoot creative direction, Airbnb and short term rental staging, wardrobe styling, luxury gifting and packaging, branding support, interior styling. These are all real income streams that don't require a degree. What they do require is evidence. And this is where I tell you to start if this is your skill. If you are thinking about starting in aesthetic based business and using your visual intelligence to start a business, this is where I would tell you to start if you were my client. I would tell you to document your eye before you try to sell it. I would tell you to show transformation, and I would tell you to post before and afters. I would tell you to share mood boards, capture your styling work before the styling work that you're already doing in your everyday life. So I would encourage you to start to take videos and photos of what you're doing, because it's probably already happening. Visual proof sells visual skill in a way that a bio and a price, it never will. Like, you can have all the credentials and all the accolades and all the things, but if you are in this visual intelligence business, the visual proof is going to sell that skill faster than your bio or your price sheet will. So let people see how you see. Let the people who need that skill, let them find you. Skill number 4. The fourth skill is teaching. And before you click off, I want to be specific about what I mean here, because I'm not talking about having a classroom or a curriculum or a decade of experience in a particular subject. I'm talking about the ability to transfer understanding from one person to another. And that is a specific, valuable, monetizable skill that is completely separate from how much you know. Some women are just gifted at helping people get it. Not just explaining things, but knowing where someone's confusion lives and knowing how to meet that person there. You can feel when someone isn't tracking, like you can literally just sense it. And you instinctively know how to come at whatever it is that you're talking about from a different lens and a different angle. You can break complicated things into smaller steps that feel logical instead of overwhelming. You remember what it felt like not to know something, where most of us, we forget what it was like to be a beginner. And because you remember what it felt like not to know something, that memory makes you a better guide than someone who's been at expert level for so long, they've forgotten what the confusion felt like when they started. And that ability to translate, listen, it is worth a tremendous amount, because the internet economy, it rewards people who can reduce confusion. And I want you to think about that statement for a second, because I feel like it explains a lot about why certain people build large audiences and profitable businesses. Seeming the internet economy rewards people who can reduce confusion. So the people who have these massive audiences and these profitable businesses, they're not always the most credentialed. They're not always the most experienced either. They're just very good at taking something complicated and making it feel approachable. And people pay for shortcuts, they pay for frameworks. People pay for someone to stand between them and the overwhelm and say, you know what? Let's take a step back. Here is exactly how this works. And some of y'all are already doing this every single day. You're the person your coworkers come to when they don't understand something and don't want to look stupid in front of the boss. Is that you? You train new employees on, and somehow you make the learning curve feel shorter. You help friends navigate situations that feel impossible until you break it down into manageable, digestible parts. You mentor younger women who are coming up behind you, and you watch the light go on in their eyes. You have been teaching your whole life. You just haven't been calling it that or getting paid for it. And here is something I really, 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 really need you to hear. You do not need to know everything in order for you to teach something. That belief is responsible for so much delayed income. I can't even begin to count the ways. You need to know more than the person you're helping in that specific area at that specific moment. That is literally it. Some of the most effective teachers are people who recently figured something out themselves because they still have access to the memory of confusion in a way that someone with 20 years of experience sometimes doesn't. Like, think about something, a new skill that you learned, right? Let's say you wanted to learn how to play the guitar. And when you first started learning how to play the guitar, it was hard. It was hard, it was complicated, but you were also very excited about it, right? And now fast forward and say you've been playing the guitar for 20 years and you just, I mean, it's second nature to you, right? Sometimes you forget about that. So when you're just a few steps ahead of the person that you're trying to teach, sometimes that is the best place to be. Because someone with 20 years, they're set in their ways. They done forgot how confused and how hard it was to learn how to play the guitar, because relatability is part of what makes teaching effective. And being a few steps ahead of someone is often more relatable than being at the top of your field. And women also tend to underestimate how much knowledge they've accumulated through lived experience, not just professional experience. This is not just about professional experience, y'all. This is about, so I want you to think about, I think about what you know how to do that you've never considered packaging. So think about that. Think about navigating career transitions, building confidence in rooms where you were underestimated. Think about authentic networking. Are you good at that? What about managing money in ways that work with your life? Planning events that people enjoy. Planning events that people enjoy. What about understanding branding well enough to help someone sharpen their message? So the issue isn't a shortage of knowledge, it's a shortage of ownership. It's a willingness to say what I know has value and I'm going to offer it. I'm going to package it. I'm going to position it. Now, if I wanted to monetize this particular skill this month, I would start with one question. What can I help someone accomplish in the next 60 minutes? And then I build one small thing around that answer. So whether that's a live workshop, whether it is a single paid Zoom strategy session, whether it's a downloadable guide or a 45-minute training, I would focus on just one outcome one audience, and one clear result. Because whatever the infrastructure is, that can grow later. But the first step is just proving to yourself that someone will pay for what you know. And once that happens, everything changes. If you are just joining, we are talking about the 5 skills that you might be sitting on that you can generate income from this month. And we are getting ready to jump into number 5. What is the number 5 skill? The 5th skill is relationship building. And I want to make a case for this one right here being the most powerful one on this entire list. And it isn't because it generates income. The generates tends to be the most sustainable and the most expansive. So some women naturally know how to connect with people in a way that creates something lasting, right? So you know how to make people feel comfortable. You remember details about people that make them feel seen. You have a sense for who you should know, and you know how to make introductions that turn into partnerships. You create spaces, whether that's a digital space or a physical space, where people want to show up because they feel like they belong there. You know how to build trust quickly, and you know how to build it in a way that most people don't know how to do, and you do it on purpose. You do it with intention. And you've probably been doing all this without recognizing it as anything other than this is just who I am. And here's what I want you to understand about this in a business context. Almost every business that grows sustainably and any business that has lasted, it does so because of relationships. It doesn't happen. Businesses don't grow because of transactions. They don't last because of transactions. It's not because of ads, and it's not because these businesses have a perfect funnel. Businesses sustain and grow because someone trusted someone who trusted someone who trusted someone. And that chain of trust, that circle of trust, it moved opportunity through the network. Businesses they don't survive, and they certainly don't thrive because of transactions. It's because of relationships. Listen, the whole reason that referrals work is because trust travels through a relationship. It travels faster through a relationship than it does any other marketing piece, right? They say word of mouth marketing is the best form of marketing. It's because of the relationship. And women who are naturally relational, the ones who are good at creating trust and maintaining that trust, you have a value that is extremely hard to replicate. And I also want to talk about something else here that gets overlooked in conversations about women and money. And that is some of the highest earning, most influential women in the room. They're not necessarily the most credentialed or the loudest. They're the most connected. And I don't mean that in a networky event business card kind of way. I mean, they know how to cultivate authentic, that's that word again, authentic relationships. I'm talking about the kind of relationships where people want to help that person, where people want to include that person, and people want to refer that person. Opportunities, I don't care what business you're in. I don't care whether you're working a 9 to 5 or you're a full-time entrepreneur. Opportunities move through relationships. Jobs move through relationships, partnerships, clients, investments, introductions, visibility. All of that moves through the trust and networks that people build. And women who truly understand this, and they understand this and they approach it strategically, they have an advantage that most people never think to intentionally leverage, let alone monetize it. And here's the thing, we are also living through a very specific cultural moment where, again, here comes this word, Authentic community is becoming more and more rare, but people are valuing it more and more at the same time. People are overstimulated and underconnected, y'all. We are in digital spaces all day and we still feel lonely. We are part of organizations and still feel isolated. So the hunger for belonging is real and it's growing, and it's only going to continue to grow. Women who know how to create spaces where people feel seen, heard, supported, and connected to each other. Listen, you are meeting a need that the market is ready and willing to pay for. So, what are some of these businesses that you can start if this is your zone of genius? Community management. It can be local or virtual, online or offline networking events, membership groups, client experience support, accountability communities, partnership coordination, mastermind facilitation, event hosting, etc., 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 because these are all legitimate income streams. And the barrier to entry for someone who's naturally relational is much lower than other areas, because the core skill is something you've been developing your whole life. You just haven't positioned it as income yet. So I guess now that we've gone through the 5 skills, hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. Now that we have gone through all of these 5 skills, I guess the question that comes up is, how do you know which skill to start with? So I want to spend just a few minutes on something practical. So you have the 5 skills. If you missed all 5 of the skills, I know some of you just tuned in and you heard me talking about relationships, but there were 4 other skills that came before that. And if you missed it, I encourage you to catch the replay of this live on my YouTube channel. But now that we've gone through all 5, how do you know which one? Because the thing is, some of you may have been here the whole time and you're like, you know what? I recognize myself in 2 or 3 of these things. And the last thing I want for you is for you to leave this conversation with just 5 possibilities and no direction, okay? So here is the framework that I would use. And if you are taking notes, this is the part where you might want to start jotting some things down if you haven't. So I want you to start by asking yourself, which of these skills, these 5 skills, which one of these do people request from you without asking if you have time? So I'm not talking about the ones that you're good at in a general sense, but which one of these skills, which are the ones that people just assume they can just ask you for? I'm talking about the ones where someone messages you with a task that they've already described rather than first asking you if you'd be willing to help them. Because that level of assumption on the other person's part, that is very important data. It means your skill is visible enough that people don't even think twice about asking. And that kind of frictionless trust, that is the foundation of income. So that's the first question. Second, I want you to ask yourself, which one of these skills has the most obvious problem attached to it? Now, as I went through these skills, I did give you a list of possibilities on how you could monetize it. But ask yourself, which one has the most obvious problem to you attached to it? And remember what I said earlier, income follows problem solving. So if organization is your skill, what's the problem? If communication is your skill, what's the problem? So if organization was your skill and you were my client, maybe your problem is helping the overwhelmed business owner from drowning in chaos. If communication was your skill and you were my client, maybe the problem is the entrepreneur who can't translate what they do into words that connect with their audience. Because the clearer the problem, the faster your path will be to income. So the third thing is, and this is the part that, a lot of people skip. I want you to ask yourself, which one of these skills could you talk about for so long without running out of things to say? And when I say so long, I mean for years and years and years and years. And not which one of these skills you're most technically skilled at, but which one interests you when you get into the nitty gritty, when you get down into the weeds of this thing. Which one of these 5 skills interest you to that level? Because the content strategy and the evolution of your offer and the work that you're going to do with your client, all of it is going to require you to stay engaged. Because competence without interest is a recipe for burnout. And ask me how I know. Ask me how I know. So I want you to pick the skill that gets all 3 of those answers. And if you have more than one of those skills that shows up, I want you to literally flip a coin, like for real. Flip a coin, because indecision is more expensive than imperfect action. And any one of these skills, when it is positioned correctly and when you consistently pursue it, it can generate income. It can generate income. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Erica. Thanks for joining. I appreciate the love. Now, I want to take a step back for a minute because there's a deeper conversation underneath everything we've covered today, and I do not want to skip it. I don't want to water it down. I don't want to minimize it, because for most women, the real obstacle isn't a lack of skill. It is a lack of permission, because you have spent so much time being useful for free that the idea of charging for your abilities, it feels uncomfortable. And in some cases, it feels wrong, not just awkward, but morally uncomfortable. Like you're taking advantage of something, or like putting a price on what you know and your skills. It would change the nature of what you offer. And I'm bringing this up because I feel like a lot of women experience it, but they don't talk about it. That discomfort is not a character flaw. It's a result of conditioning that we as women have been taught. We have literally been taught from, I know for me personally, from the time before I could even talk, we have been taught to nurture. We've been taught to help, to support, to organize, to give, to give, to give, to give, and give and give and give some more. We've been taught to pour out. We've been taught to solve all the problems, everybody's problems. And that's often been framed as a virtue, right? And it is. And generosity is good. So don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. Being the person people can rely on is meaningful, but somewhere in all of that giving, the lesson that got left out for us was, and you can also build wealth from your strengths. So you can be generous. You can be the person that everybody can rely on. You can solve all the problems for Lottie Dottie and everybody, and you can also build wealth from your strengths. That lesson was withheld from us. Sometimes accidentally, sometimes as a feature rather than a bug. And so when income or monetizing your strengths, when that enters the picture, guilt also enters the picture. You start to second guess whether what you offer is really worth paying for. You find reasons you need more time, more experience, more credentials. You discount your rates before anyone even questions what you're charging. You might add so much free value to your offer that by the time you attach a price to it, you've already undersold it to yourself. And meanwhile, there are women who are monetizing far less valuable things every single day with complete confidence and zero apology. And here is something I have noticed working with dozens of women on this. The discomfort around charging, it rarely has anything to do with whether or not you're capable. It has to do with identity, because there's a version of yourself that you've just shrunk down for a long time. You're helpful, generous. You're the person who shows up for people. Like, you literally say no. And then charging for something, it feels like it threatens that identity of who you are. Like it makes you somebody different. Like you're less giving, or you're more transactional. But that is a false choice. Because here's the thing, you can be generous and get paid. Somebody drop paid in the comments. You can be in service and have a price attached to that service. You can do both. You can have what they used to say on social media, you can have both of them. BOFFUM. You can have both. You can freely give in some contexts and appropriately charge in others. And those things can coexist, and they're not in conflict with each other. They just require a decision that the version of you who gives everything away for free hasn't made yet. And again, if you are taking notes, I want you to write this question down. It's actually going to be a series of questions I have them written down. I'm going to read them exactly as I have it written down because I don't want to get it wrong. This is what I want you to write down. Where did the idea come from that your skills, the ones you've developed over the years of experience, the lessons that you have learned through experiences, the ones that people consistently rely on you on, the ones that solve problems, where did the idea come from that you don't deserve compensation for it? Who told you that? Was it explicit, or was it just the absence of anyone ever telling you the opposite of that? And more importantly, why are you still agreeing with whoever said it? A skill doesn't have to be revolutionary to be profitable. It doesn't have to be rare or genius or something nobody else can do. It just has to solve a problem someone is willing to pay to get off their plate. People don't wake up hoping to buy the most sophisticated solution available on the market. People wake up needing help with something specific, and the woman who offers that and positions it clearly, that's the one who gets paid. The identity shift right here, it changes everything in this, because you'll be moving from I'm a helpful person to I am a helpful person who also has value. And both of those things are true. Both of those things can coexist. And both of those things have always been true. I see you paid in the comments. Thank you so much, Erica. So let's talk about why this particular conversation matters so much right now in this very moment, because I don't think the timing is by accident. Real talk, the economy is changing faster than most people are emotionally prepared for. Job safety looks very different than it did 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Industries that felt stable, they have had mass layoffs. Companies that felt like forever jobs have restructured overnight. The loyalty that many professionals extended to their jobs and their employers and their 9 to 5 over decades has not been returned in kind. And a lot of women are waking up to that reality in unexpected and painful ways. And some of them have planned for everything in their lives except for these moments right here. And now they're looking at their situation and they're realizing that having one source of income, no matter how good of a salary it is a vulnerability that they didn't appreciate until it became a vulnerability. And I experienced this myself. My own corporate role ended, and I didn't choose for it to end. And it was at a time that I didn't pick. And as disorienting as it was, what I came back to over and over and over again was I am not starting from zero. Because I have skills, I have knowledge, I have relationships, I have value that exists completely independently of any employer's decision about my role. And that realization that my economic value isn't at someone else's discretion, that is one of the most important shifts that I have ever made. And it's not because I'm anti job or anti career. Listen, if this is your first time here at Nick at Noon, I am a firm believer that your job should be the first investor in your business. So I'm not anti job, but it's because I believe that it's a different feeling in your body when you know that your financial stability has more than one leg to stand on. And I want that same feeling for every single woman, wherever you are in the world. I want that feeling for you too. And I don't want it to be from a place of panic or because you need a backup plan in case everything falls apart. Though it's okay if that's part of your motivation, but I want it to come from a place of power because power and panic produce different kinds of businesses. Panic produces something that you'll abandon the moment the original source of income stabilizes. But power produces something you build intentionally because you decided you want options on your terms, regardless of what any employer does or doesn't do. And when you have income that you can generate yourself, you make different decisions across the board. Like you negotiate differently because you're not negotiating from a place of desperation. You leave situations and environments that aren't working for you anymore. You leave them faster because your financial safety doesn't depend entirely on you staying there. You show up completely different in rooms because you know your value isn't contingent on anyone's approval or continued employment. You experience a whole lot less fear because fear loses a significant amount of its grip on you when you know you can create income beyond a single source. Income streams, multiple income streams, creates options for you. It creates options for freedom. And freedom changes how you move through the world in ways that are hard, like extremely hard to articulate until you felt it. And sometimes women think that building income requires a complete reinvention. Like you need a whole new identity and a big giant social media platform or a polished brand or a business and a business plan and 2 years of runway. And it doesn't require all that. Sometimes building a second stream of income, it starts with one skill, one offer, and one person who needed exactly what you have. Like there are people who are searching for the thing that you know how to do, and they can't get their problem solved because you're not out here selling the offer. And once you see that it's possible to create money outside of your 9 to 5, once you have that first experience of someone paying you for something that came from your own knowledge and skill, let me tell you something in you will permanently change. It changes in how you understand yourself and it changes your relationship with money because you stop seeing income as something that only a job can control. You start owning your own economic value in a way and it changes everything. I just I can't impress upon you enough on that. And that is what I'm after for you in every single conversation that I have here. So whether that is a live stream or whether that is one of my videos that you see me publish every week, that's what I want for you. It's not just tactics or income. I am talking about the vision of how you see yourself in these so volatile economic times. That is what I want for you. And here's the thing. Here is the thing about all of this. This is exactly the kind of conversation that led me to build 2K in 2 hours because I kept seeing women who weren't lacking potential. They were lacking a monetization strategy. They had the skills, the experience, the real life value. They just didn't have a clear framework for turning what they already knew into income without having to build an entire business infrastructure first. You don't have to do that. So in this training, it is designed to be fast and is designed to be practical. It is not 40. It is not a 6-month program. It is not more information that sits in a folder that you're never going to open. This mini course, it is built for the woman who is ready to move and she needs a clear path to follow. So it walks you through identifying the profitable opportunities that already exist inside your skill set. It walks you through structuring them into something that you can offer and pricing them in a way that reflects value, not the discounted, apologetic pricing that women often default to when they're just getting started. This training, it helps you with pricing. The link for 2K in 2 hours is in the description. And if you've been sitting with the feeling that you're capable of more when it comes to your income, but you're not sure how to package what you already know into something people would pay for, this is where I want you to start. I want you to start with 2K in 2 hours, because income doesn't belong to influencers and celebrities and people with massive platforms and years of entrepreneurial experience. Some of the most profitable skills are ordinary things that are done well and they're positioned clearly. So again, I'm talking about the woman who organizes, the woman who communicates, the woman who sees what others miss, the woman who teaches what she knows, the woman who connects people in ways that create real value. Those women are literally everywhere. And most of them have no idea that what they do every day, that naturally to them, it is worth money. And once you know it, you can't unknow it. And once you start, it's very hard to stop. So if this live helped you today, I want you to share it with another woman. I want you to text it to her. I want you to drop the link to this video in the group chat. I want you to tag someone who needs to hear this conversation, because I truly believe there are women sitting on income right now who just need someone to help them see themselves differently. And once you do, listen, everything else changes. Everything else changes. I want to thank each and every person who popped in and out of this live. I am here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon Mountain Time, Nick at noon. I am dropping gems all about the strategy, tools, and mindset it takes to start online businesses, to create digital products, to start your coaching business. If you haven't already, I want you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn your notifications on so you don't miss a beat. Check out 2K in 2 hours. The link is down in the description, or you can go to my website at herincomeedit.com/2K. I hope y'all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful weekend. Thanks so much for joining, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.